Welcome to this episode of Sweet Speak. I'm JD Miller, and we're continuing on our AI journey, this time talking about AI in higher education. This week we have Mary Purk joining us. Mary's Executive Director of AI at Wharton and the co-founder of that area. She leads the AI Academic Research Center and focuses on how AI tools can be utilized to solve business problems, customer journeys, and discover the human impact of AI and smart technologies for consumers, firms, and society. Mary and her team leveraged the resources of the Wharton School to be seen as the world leader in the study of business and societal impacts of advances in AI and technology to keep the world informed of any research, teaching, or outreach related to AI new technologies or its impacts to expand Wharton's footprint in the AI technology domain. Mary connects students, academics, and professionals across multiple industries to solve complex real-world business challenges using machine learning, AI, and big data. I'm excited to have Mary join us, and she'll be here after the break. Thank you for agreeing to this, and welcome to Sweet Speak.
Thanks, JD. It's wonderful to be here, and it's great to be in a conversation with you. We always have so much fun when we're involved in a conversation. Typically, it's been on a stage, but I'm excited that we're able to do it in this format. So thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, I want to start off with at Wharton's AI initiative that you're driving. You're uniquely positioned at the intersection of academic research and practical business applications. So, could you share a recent breakthrough study or that you believe will significantly impact how businesses operate in 2025?
Well, first, I think one of it might not be completely unique, but the fact that we have a center where we are very efficient and interested in bringing in businesses to work very closely with our students and our faculty members to work on what they're facing in real time. And this is such a benefit to our faculty and students because they can see what companies need to solve for now, which helps drive some their interest in their research. But then for companies to work with brilliant minds that are answering some of these difficult questions that the businesses might not have been thinking about, or students with their curiosity are applying all their new skills that they're learning to solve that problem. And as you know, when you don't have individuals that might be encumbered by cultural norms of a company, they can sometimes see the forest from the trees. And so there's a very like a salient solution that can be presented that's very refreshing. Total think, the adage of thinking outside the box. That's what you have with that, and very efficient in their delivery, non-emotional choices that they're making. Sometimes companies they're hesitant to do this or that because of the history. So, well, is that earth shattering? No, but is it really relevant right now? Yes, and companies need the academics and the students to help with that, but academics and students need to know what's going on because with AI, it's probably one of the very first times where everyone is at the same starting point with this new technology. And in fact, businesses might be a bit ahead of where academics are in researching it. Now, academics will look at what they bring is the history of some of these trends and things like that and can apply it and have a lens that is just so clear in seeing things and help businesses and leaders say, all right, here is the direction I think we might be going to, or here's some of this other advice or another technique we've thought about. So that is more in general what I see happening. But in terms of what we might see on the horizon in 2025 is our academics that are much more closely aligned with businesses to understand what they're working on. So they're bringing some of that technology to actually research, and then they're funneling it back out, not just to one company to learn about, but for all companies to learn about. So there's more blog posts, there's more research papers, but they are now incorporating much more quickly into what we would call our executive education classes. And then and more companies are coming into those classes and sharing in real time how they're solving for those things. So it's not one particular solution we see on the horizon, but more of a multitude of sharing of that knowledge and then distilling it into a clearer vision of where to move forward because it is moving so quickly. What we do find is that there is definitely a clear understanding that it's the industry is very highly concentrated. Amongst our some of the big seven that we've all talked about, that the chips are concentrated, the software is concentrated, the language models, these large language model learning, LLMs are incredibly expensive to use and train. So where should businesses learn from that in terms of, do they bring things in-house? Do they augment what is already out there? All these different decisions depending on size, where they are in their digital transformation journey, how sophisticated are they in the cloud, how much access do they have to the data. So it's not just one like golden ticket that we're able to provide for companies, but actually a multitude of pathways that we can guide companies along.
You focus on studying how AI tools solve business problems and affect that customer journey. What would you say are the more surprising insights you've uncovered about how AI is reshaping the customer business relationship? And also, how do you see that evolving?
So it depends on the industry, which is no surprise, because depending on how much an industry is regulated would depend on some of the risks that they're taking. So, for example, in a financial industry, we see more of this technology being immediately brought in internally, but used to help employees to be much more efficient in their tasks. For example, JP Morgan just recently announced that they have their LLM called LLM Suite that's going to be used internally for everyone to use, from looking up how to answer some difficult questions from a customer, to looking at all the legal documentation that has to be filed, to detecting fraud, looking at those fraud cases much more quickly. But they're not using it per se customer facing, where a customer calling in to solely be uh, all their things would be handled by a virtual agent. But that's coming. So companies are realizing, this technology is really incredible. But some companies have to use it both internally before a customer might be fully facing agent. Now, in another instant, we have some companies that are using these, really moving forward with their virtual assistants with their customers and their customer journey. But it has to be fully baked. It has to be fully baked in that journey. And also because customers are coming in at different entry points, to make sure it's consistent. I do think that customers are going to be expecting, with this technology, that companies are very responsible in how they use it, but that they need to start using it. So one of the first things we'll say to companies is, they have to definitely understand where their risk tolerance is and where their risk exposure is within their customer journey, or within, if they're in a highly regulated industry, which would both be like healthcare and in banking. But you can certainly use the technology internally to make your processes more effective and that customer journey more seamless. As an example, I just had I went through something in the medical system, and it was the very first time where I had checked in, and I didn't even have to show an insurance card, or I think the only thing they asked me was my date of birth. Remember when you would have to check into something? It's like, oh, here's a credit card, here's my insurance card, here's my
Here's my
date.
Costco card. You threw it all out there.
Yeah. And you were sitting at a desk, and you had to remember, like, it was like 6 pages of paper you're filling out. Well, so I think a lot of the AI now is, they're finally connecting all these systems together, and they're making it easier to contact you via text. And if they don't hear from you, then they give you a phone call. They actually took all my information and made that experience. See, it was a miracle. It was actually, I'm like, oh my God, this is a medical miracle. I hadn't even seen it yet. So I think it depends on it depends on the company how you're using AI, but you can definitely use it, and you need to start using it and identifying those use cases. The most common use cases are for documentation, summary, and like data analytics. The next one is chatbots, and that's going to move into virtual assistants and virtual agents, which really will take some of the humans out of the loop.
So, looking ahead to 2025 and beyond, what do you believe are the most critical skills for business leaders to develop as AI becomes more integrated into strategic decision making?
For both, well, for business leaders, I believe it was one, everyone has to get up to speed on what the technology is. So education is key. Like understanding the basics of what is this technology? How did it start? How did we progress from regressions to neural nets to machine learning to transformer models? I mean, just understanding that it's not hard to understand. I mean, that's history. That's history of technology. Then I think it's very so having that basic understanding that imaging and audio is coming into these models into generative AI. Understanding the difference between structured data and unstructured data. So understanding the terms, and then understanding what is your technical stack, and what is it based on? Like, what are the critical components of your not only your infrastructure, but in the industry, in the world? Like, what are we most dependent on? We're dependent on computing power. We're dependent on, which also translates into money to buy the computing power. And we're dependent on data, your data. How are you managing your data, and maybe data that you're going to continue to ingest, because you're 80% of your new data that you're going to ingest is what we call unstructured data. It's the conversations with your customer. It's the reviews that people are putting in online. It's video, it's images. So that is coming. It's not going to be just the transactional data of your bank account, which I'm just making it from a simplistic standpoint. Our transact or point of sale data, that's going to be 20% of it. It's all this other unstructured data. And then the last thing, so it's computing power or resources, it's data, and then the last one is talent. And how are you looking ahead? And it's, they always say, you won't be replaced by AI, you'll be replaced by someone who uses AI. Now, in some instances, maybe some people are going to be totally replaced by AI, but that's a little bit of ways. But it is something to be thought about. And how are you going to train your current, your current talent pool, and how are they going to be more efficient by using AI? And we just did a study actually about, it was like a pulse on AI in the industry. It's the second year that we're doing this. We're doing it with a company, GPK Collective. And what we looked at perceptions, employees' perceptions. And previously, everyone was either they were in awe and excited about AI, and they were a little skeptical about it. And I don't want to say fearful, but skeptical. That was last year. This year, a lot of those emotions or adjectives were translated into experimentation, wanting to learn. And so moving from this kind of like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. It's a new shiny object, to let's experiment with it. This can really make my job a lot easier. And you will find many people are using AI. If they have it at their company, they are. If they're not, they're using it at home, trying to solve for something and bringing that idea to work. And they get a lot of job satisfaction over solving these problems. So they are seeing it help them in their work. So I think leaders need to, in terms of talent, need to understand, how are we going to use AI, but how are my employees currently using it? And can we incorporate it into what we're doing? And how do we into our P&L? Like, how are we going to generate revenue? And then you prioritize which use cases you go after.
Let's drill a little bit more there. Your team studies the human impact of AI technologies. Could you share some unexpected findings about how AI is influencing the workplace dynamics and what trends should we be watching for in the next few years?
So the trends that we should be watching for are that it's not going away. It's going to continue to influence what we do at work and how we do our work. There are going to be changing expectations of employees, of industry, and I think consumers have to recognize there's going to be changing expectations of how what that relationship is with the company as well. Um, People don't like change. Change is here. I mean, be prepared that processes are going to constantly change, and lean in to learning how you can change those processes with this technology, as well as knowing that you might be tapped to and your process, your job is going to change, and be part of the solution. Positivity is one of the best things that is going to get everyone through this. It's the technology. Yes, it's very complicated. We can't even explain the models. Okay, check that box. But hundreds of millions of people are going to be affected by this, and not you don't have to understand the model. Frankly, very few people, even the people who created it, cannot explain it. So let's focus on how it's going to make my job better and the processes better. And as a leader in particular, they, in my opinion, they need to know more about AI than their general managers do, or in IT, like understand like how is this going to affect what we're going to do. Take a deep breath, take stock of what it is today, but then really look forward to say where do we need to be. And I think the best part about this technology is that everyone can participate. It is finally out of IT. I mean, everyone can use this technology to solve problems. You don't necessarily have to build the code, and there's going to need to always be some data scientists and data engineers to do that. But the code creation is not the cog in the wheel. It is figuring out what do we have to solve for? Literally, what do we have to solve for? What is the most beneficial or biggest impact for that? And it's not just companies, it's like in society. It's making people's lives better. And this is all going to come into robotics and agents. I mean, it's going to move fast. So figuring out your own successes with it to drive your motivation will help you stay ahead. Think of like a surf, like if people are surfing, they want to catch the best wave. There's these really nice waves that are coming in. And so get on that surfboard and try to ride that wave. And I mean, enjoy it, because there's going to be some times where it's going to be frustrating. There's going to be a lot of adoption that has to occur, and figuring out why isn't this working? Why is this model biased? And also saying we can't go forward with this deadline because something is wrong. So leaders are going to need to do two main things besides what I've said before: is allow for experimentation, encourage experimentation, and know with experimentation, there's going to be failure. Realize there's failure and cut the cord with that, and then move. You have multiple things in multiple projects in the pipeline. I mean, I was just at a conference and people are saying that these use cases, bringing them up to speed, I thought it was 3 to 6 months. It's 4 to 6 weeks. Someone said 4 to 6 weeks, and someone's like, maybe, but it is going to be coming fast. So that's one, is experimentation, and then the other one is knowing that there's going to be change in your position.
I've asked from an education standpoint, as AI capabilities advance rapidly, how's Wharton adapting to its curriculum and research to focus to ensure students and business leaders that they're prepared for the changes ahead?
Yeah. So we are offering Chat GPT to right now. Currently, every MBA has that. So, in contrast, I was actually with someone the other day, and they were saying, it was in law school, and they're like, you can't use any large language model, in the classroom, or So there's these contrasts between some schools that are allowing embracing the technology. Some they're like, trying to hold it at bay. Well, you can't hold this at bay. The train has left the station, and Wharton realizes it's a tool that when people are going to graduate or leave the program, graduate with these degrees, they have to know how to use this technology, because that's how they're going to be solving problems. So it's really on the faculty, on the academics. They're now, like, there's possibly new methods in which they are going to be able to transfer knowledge and discovery of these students by using these tools.
So you've been studying the societal impacts of AI advancements. What potential challenges or opportunities do you foresee emerging in the next year that may not be getting enough attention today?
Well, this is why we promote that everyone lean into the technology by learning. I mean, read. There's so many free pieces of information around the technology. I mean, you can go on to our website of AI at Wharton, or we are part of a larger initiative, Wharton AI and Analytics Initiative. The professors are, we post summaries of papers. We post the papers. We have conferences where people can learn really in depth about one particular topic from an academic, but then we'll summarize them in a webinar format like this around 3 different topics. Here's the 3 takeaways. And if people are interested, they can, look at the papers and such. That's one way to look at it. And then I encourage everyone to do that, because then they can take these ideas and see how it's applied. When I talk to companies, I say to them, I know you want to try to solve this for your company, but that solution might be in another industry. So look to other industries. And this is also where society can look to say, what is it that we need to solve for? And is there a way in which AI can help us? Can I connect with other people that might be also trying to solve this, but in a different setting or a different industry?
Wonderful. Mary, our time goes so quick here. It was a great conversation. Tell me, what do you have going on right now? And I know the Wharton School is doing a lot in this space as well. Talk to me, what's the world look like today for you?
We have hackathons. We have, company engagement programs. We have seminars on all different types of topics, from sports to healthcare, neuroscience, to in the workplace. Specifically with AI at Wharton, we have 2 main conferences each year, one in the fall in San Francisco that's all about all general AI applications in business, and in the spring it's more about, in the workplace and management. But we have executive education classes around accountable AI and general AI, just AI specifically, how it's being rolled out. Ethan Malik and Lilac Malik have a new lab called Generative AI, where they're always looking at every single new AI application that's coming out from the bigger large language model providers. How's that going to impact us? How are Ethan's talking about how agents are going to are they here sooner than we think? So I would just recommend visit our website and stay engaged. There's something for high school students. There's something obviously for college students. There's something for people that are currently within their companies that are wanting to learn faster. And then, people who want lifelong learning. But reach out to us and provide ideas to us, what we can do to, provide more information to you all so that we can be on this journey together and solve a lot of problems.
Wonderful. Mary, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, JD. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
A big thank you to Mary for joining us today. If you'd like to watch the video of this interview, you can see that at jamesdewayne.com/videos or on YouTube at James Dewayne Group. You can listen to past episodes of Sweet Speak wherever you get your podcasts or at jamesdewayne.com. Thanks for listening.